name's Rachel, and today we are talking about another author behaving badly. Today's author is Jess Cluess. Jess Cluess is a young adult author, the author of the Kingdom on Fire series, the first book being A Shadow Bright and Burning. She's also the author of the House of Dragons series, which is, I think, a duology. I don't know. I'm not sure if they'll print any more books by her if it wasn't a duology. Before we continue, make sure you like and subscribe, and shout out to my third tier patrons, my potato starch Marxists. Thank you for keeping the channel going. I have to sing thank you for being a friend to Molly, Reba, Allison, Ebby, Carlin, Shannon, Paige, Sean, and Kate. Much love. Thank you so much. I asked my potato starch Marxists to vote, and this was the video that they chose out of the three. The other two are still coming. It's just this is the one that they picked first. So let's get into today's author behaving badly. So Jess Cluess has been involved in a few controversies. I can't find any screenshots to back this, but I did hear that she was involved in the Sarah Dessen drama, where a bunch of authors came to bat for the author Sarah Dessen after a college student said in like a snarky way to her like local, I think, university's paper that she didn't want anybody to read Sarah Dessen's books. And for some reason Sarah Dessen came across this, and then a bunch of authors found out and they were like, fuck that bitch. They were saying all kinds of shit on Twitter. They ended up having to apologize. It was a mess. I have heard that Jess Cluess got involved in that, but I don't have any screenshots to confirm that. Other authors were involved though. It was a mess. Wild. It was a time. The screenshots that exist from that are wow. But I don't have any proof she was involved. However, she was involved in other stuff. Oh man, my ring light is kicking my ass today. Oh, that's too bright. I have talked about this a little bit in another video where Emily Duncan and a number of their friends intentionally harassed and triggered an incest survivor on Twitter regarding like Jon and Sansa Stark fanfic. Jess Cluess did become involved in that, asking Emily like what is going on and saying that this was the stupidest thing that she'd ever seen on the hell side of Twitter, and saying the think of the children is bonkers because most kids aren't here. Why they aren't on YA Twitter is another question, and I do think adults here have behaved like idiots in that regard, but that's a story for another time. And Emily claiming, yeah, none of the teens I work with are on Twitter and give a shit about it. Even if even if tweens aren't tweens? What's happening with my mouth right now? Even if teenagers are not on Twitter, which they are, they categorically are, it's still just not a good thing to say to like intentionally trigger incest survivors because you like Jon and Sansa fanfic. It's weird. Jess Cluess said, and to think of the survivors gets me mad because how dare you drag actual survivors of abusive incest into this petty tempest in a teapot. The faux compassion is so bewildering and in my opinion used solely as a cheap way to win. I hate it. It's cowardice. A cheap way to win? Win what, Jessica? Who's winning here? So weird. Stop it. Get some help. Further saying, people also think of teens as these fragile porcelain figures, and my god, that is not how you raise strong, intelligent people. As a parent, I am wishing you a very shut the fuck up. Also, no teens are on Goodreads, and I kind of want to hold YA authors' hands and tell them that most of these reviews coming from angry 30-somethings, but again, another time. I just wanted to add this in here because it's like, it's weird to me that you think that teens are not on Goodreads. Are you okay? Because they are. They're definitely on Goodreads. Anyway, about the Jon Sansa fanfic shit, you are allowed to like what you like and ship what you ship and talk about it amongst yourselves. I think most people's taste in romance and shipping is straight garbage, but you do you. I do not care. Shipping is not a question of morality. It wasn't really about the shipping, it was the intentional triggering of an incest survivor. The incest survivor, which I did go into detail and read all of their tweets, came forward and said that they had been intentionally triggered and that was the problem, not the shipping itself. So for Jess Cluess to weigh in on this at all was just like, stop it. Stop. Get some help. But the issue that really caused Jess to get into the shit was some racism. And it's around something called Disrupt Texts. So Disrupt Texts is a grassroots effort by teachers and for teachers to challenge the traditional canon of what is considered like classic literature in order to create a better, more representative, more inclusive, equitable language arts curriculum. So it centers the practice of equity, but also like anti-racist education, because literature, particularly in the United States, has always centered the experiences and voices of cisgendered white men in a white and male dominated society. We live in a white patriarchy. And they believe that all students deserve a curriculum that reflects more of who they are so that they can engage with the literature in a more personable way. They say that they deserve to have curriculum that affirms voices both inside and outside of their experience. So YA author David Bowles was advocating for this. He regularly advocates for this. And he was talking about how he wanted to replace the current American K-12 curriculum with books that centered more YA literature. And Lorena Germán, an educator, chimed in on the conversation. Did you know that I'm already fucking up? Did y'all know that many of the classics that were written before the 50s? Think of U.S. society before then and the values that shaped this nation afterwards. That is what is in these books. That is why we gotta switch it up. It ain't just about being old. Lorena Germán is a prominent anti-racist activist educator. She is the co-founder of Multicultural Classroom, which is an education group that offers consulting services, workshops, and speaker sessions aimed at helping people understand intersectionality, so the intersection of race, class, in the context of education and bias in education and society's thoughts surrounding education. And for some reason, Jess Cluess took that personally. Like, there's really no other way to put it. For some reason, Jess Cluess saw Lorena Germán and was just like, ooh, I don't like you. There is no explanation for what ensued. If you think Hawthorne was on the side of the judgmental Puritans in the Scarlet Letter, then you are an absolute idiot and should not have the title of educator in your Twitter bio. This anti-intellectual, anti-curiosity bullshit is poison, and I will stand here and scream that this is sheer goddamn evil until my hair falls out. I do not care. What? If you think Upton Sinclair was on the side of the meatpacking industry, then you are a fool and should sit down and feel bad about yourself. Ah yes, that embodiment of brutal subjugation and toxic masculinity, Walden. Sit and spin on attack. Ah yes, remember their eyes were watching God and other literature of the extraordinary Harlem Renaissance? I guess not, dick. She added more shit like that about other books, like ones written by James Baldwin, and then ended the thread saying, "This thread is for you, Lorena Germán. I hope it embarrasses you. It's only what you deserve. You told an educator they are a dick and a fool, and they should sit and spin on attack, and that they should feel bad about themselves, and that they should not have the title of educator in their bio." Lorena saw this, responded, "What's interesting to me is how I present a position on an academic point, and yet this 55%er decides to attack me personally over and over again. Sounds like I struck a Confederate nerve. Any of my white friends want to jump in and get your girl, she's big mad." I feel like that was actually way nicer than I would have been. Anybody tells me to sit and spin on attack, like you come at me with personal attacks over saying that I want better, more inclusive education. Sit and spin on attack? Jessica, what the fuck? People called for her publisher to be contacted and also said, "I'm sure Cluess will cry witch hunt, cancel culture, etc. and then make a faulty and sloppy 1984 comparison." Which is hilarious because typically conservatives like to do that when they, say something racist and then they get flack for it. They're like, this is like 1984 when they've never actually read 1984. But her tweet isn't criticism or intellectual engagement, it's bullying. I agree. It crossed the line so quickly because she just immediately started going in on, "You're a fool, you should be embarrassed, sit and spin on attack." Like, it got really violent really fast. Jess comes back with an apology a couple days later on December 1st. This all happened on November 30th. Oh wait, November doesn't have a 31st. So the next day. It happened the next day. This is an apology for Lorena Germán and all who follow me, including my readers, educators, and my publisher. You didn't hurt your publisher. You were racist towards just Lorena. That's who you need to apologize to. I am writing to apologize for a thread I tweeted yesterday. I take full responsibility for my unprovoked anger towards Lorena Germán and the impact of my words on her and all who read them. I neither expect nor will ask for anyone's forgiveness or to engage with me further regarding this issue. I want to acknowledge the pain I caused and to sincerely apologize for it. My words were misguided, wrong, and deeply hurtful. They were racist. You should say they were racist. I must and will do better moving forward. I am committed to learning more about Ms. Germán's important work with disrupt text. I agree that what counts as canon in literature changes over time, and that it can and should be contested and expanded to other, more inclusive types of text. Again, I am deeply sorry. I will strive to do better. And people were like, this is a shit apology, because you're not saying what you're going to do better in the future or how you're actually going to fix things. You're just like, I did this and now I got in a lot of flack, so now I'm sorry. I thank everyone who took it upon themselves to bring the recent tweets of my client, Jessica Cluess, to my attention. I also apologize for taking so long to publicly respond, but I felt obligated to speak directly with my client client and then gather my thoughts before making any sort of public statement. Let me be clear, Jessica's behavior yesterday, in which she made a series of condescending and personal attacks on a Dominican American and woman educator, was deeply problematic and inexcusable. It is yet another example of the white privilege and systemic power imbalance that pervades the publishing industry and this country. I care very much for Jessica, and I also hold her accountable for her actions. I realize that my silence up to now may have given the impression that I am indifferent to what took place yesterday, or that I am complicit. I promise this, I'm listening, I am working to elevate the voices of those who have been historically marginalized in our industry, and I am committed to engaging in the hard conversations needed to move us all forward together. People felt like this was a little wishy-washy, especially towards the end, where it was like, okay, what exactly are you gonna be doing to fix this? And he came back and said, I hold myself to certain personal professional standards for the values I support. I no longer represent Jessica Cluess. Her tweets against Lorena Germont earlier this week were racist and unacceptable. Which, better. Yeah, we need to say something is racist when it's racist. A lot of people were not happy with Jessica's apology. It's not mine to accept, so I don't plan to say whether or not it was an acceptable apology. They made a lot of really good points on how she didn't really make a commitment to make true amends. She seemed to think that an apology was enough, and people pointed out that it's simply not. She wasn't really willing to work with and engage with criticism when this was all going down. It seemed that she just apologized because she had gotten a lot of flack. But a lot of people were being really gross and responding saying she never should have apologized and she was right. And the amount of people saying that shit was concerning. Here's my point of view on this. I think disrupt text is great. All literature is not even included in classics, so I mean, can't you make the same argument? Like, you guys are leaving out certain things that we should have classics, and it's like, old books are old books and we can choose to read them or not, but the world we live in now is a very particular version of the world that will never be duplicated again, and it's great for young people to engage in literature that reflects the world around them, particularly if their personal, intricate selves are not commonly reflected in literature. That's so important for kids to see. So I don't really understand the whole idea of, classics being important. I don't really care about them. You can try to make the case in my comments. I'm open to listening about it, but I don't really see why reading The Crucible is any more or less important than reading Clap When You Land. That's my take. I think that for today's world, Clap When You Land will resonate more and be more important to the people who are alive now. And that's okay. We don't read every single book that existed in the time that To Kill a Mockingbird was printed. Anyway, that's my take, and that's what happened with Jessica Cluess. She has gone pretty silent, kind of just retweets once in a while, doesn't really say anything on Twitter, keeps her mouth shut, which, wise. I encourage her to keep doing that, because that is her best bet right now. Yikes, Jessica. Oh god, I really hope she is out there doing work to make amends, but she hasn't said anything about it. So alright, thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments and questions down below. Let me know what you think of reading classics. Like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.